Hey Ray, thank you for submitting your photos through Patreon for a quick critique. Now I see that we got two properties here, one image from one property and then three images from another. But let's go through these really quickly. I want to show you what I'm seeing here. Now this image here, you know, the composition is great. It's nice and square. We've got a good framing on it, but a couple of things I'm going to look at and I'm going to be critical about. Number one, I want that light on in the above the sink there. And the second thing I want to look at is this. Now that range looks really grungy. It almost makes it look like as if it is this chrome, bronze, copper kind of stovetop range, but I know that it isn't. And a lot of this grunginess comes from whatever HDR program or preset that you are using. Now, it's great for the rest of the property, but it's not good for that appliance. And let's face it, when realtors and clients and anybody judges your photos, it's not going to be based on the best part of the photo. It's always going to be on the worst part, the part that's going to stand out. So I would say we gotta fix that. Now, we either change the preset, or the last thing that we can do is we can take one of your bracketed images and then try and adjust it so that the edges are going to match everything around it, and then blend it back in using masking. And if you need help with that, let me know. I can mentor you on how to do that as well. All right. But aside from that, this image, it's a solid image. The composition is pretty good, and well, vacant spaces are hard, so well done. This one here, one of the things I want to look at, and I always tell my students, is to look at proportions. And for example, if you look at the number of pixels, just think about pixels here now. The amount of pixels that this one countertop takes here, it takes up a huge amount of pixel real estate within this image. Now, that happens for two reasons. Number one, yes, it is a big island, but two, it happens because your camera is so close to it and that lens is distorting the size of it. So we can either do one of two things. We can either A, move back and zoom in, or we can move forward and start cutting it off so that our image then will look more like this, where we cut it off here, take a quarter of it, and we focus on this kind of area, which will then, by default or by cropping, will increase the amount of pixels that this back wall, the fridge, and the side counter will have. So it will make the rest of the kitchen look bigger in comparison. My recommendation would be to do either one of those two. So step back, zoom in, or move in and focus more on that fridge wall here. All right. And lastly, the same kind of advice goes for this one, because you can see very clearly that, you know what, this island is taking up way too much of pixel real estate, and it makes everything else in the background look really, really small. The second thing I'm noticing on this one, though, is this. I'm noticing that the plugin there is blurry. I'm seeing that the countertop looks a little bit blurry, and so what it tells me there is that the aperture that you're using for your camera may not be compressed enough. You might want to go to a well, if you've taken my course, you'll know my favorite aperture to use for everything is f13. But that's because that's the best one to use for a full frame Canon camera DSLR. I haven't really figured out what the best aperture is for like the new R5 or R6, but for the regular full frame DSLRs, yes, f13 tends to be a good one for the Canon lineup there. So if you are having problems with having things a little bit blurry in the foreground, that's a depth of field issue. change it to F13 there. Okay, that would be my advice. And lastly, this image. I actually want to take this image and open that up in Photoshop. Give me a quick sec here. All right, now here's the thing. This is essentially a perfect image in terms of real estate photography. The composition is good. You've got all your verticals and horizontals. Everything is straight. Everything is lined up. Perfect. Your colors are good. Now, if I'm nitpicking, I would say that you need to take this tap and make sure that it is straightened out, so it is pointing straight towards the range in the oven. And then the other thing is that, how do I put this? You're dealing with a vacant space. The only color that you have in this space is the brown that comes from the cabinets. And because of that, this looks almost like one of those sepia images where it's a gray scale or a brown scale, and it's not enough. There's not enough pop to it. So if you get something like this, I would recommend doing a window pull. And if you get a place where when you shoot the place, it's a cloudy day and you get these gray skies, well, here's a quick little tip that I would use. I'm going to click Shift Command N to create a new layer. I'm going to just call this Blue Skies. All right. Now I'm going to click on the background layer again. I'm going to click on W. W is going to be our magic tool, which will show up right down over here. Okay. Magic tool is or magic wand tool, sorry, is a great tool because it can select areas based on whatever criteria you give it. And we're just going to use the standard magic wand tool. I'm going to click on the sky portion here. And click on Shift to also get that little bit that was missing. Here, there. All right, I think I got most of it. And I'm even going to zoom in to here. All right. Sometimes you got to click it a little bit more. Or you can change your tolerances there so that it gets a little bit more of the areas that you want. All right. So I think everyone can tell everything within those dotted lines, that's what's been selected using my magic wand tool. That, I guess to most people, will look like it is on the outside. That is the sky. And so now I'm going to go to my blue skies layer here. I'm going to go over here to the color palette. And I'm going to actually try and click on a color that looks like what a blue sky would look like. How about there? Does that look good? All right. Click that. I'm going to click my brush. And I am going to color that sky. Now, here we go. With the sky, without the sky. With the sky, without the sky. Notice how by just adding that little bit of blue, all of a sudden it makes everything else inside look more colorful. Why does that happen? It's because there's contrast. You have something to contrast the brown with. The blue contrasts the brown. And this is one of those key things where if you have troubles with a property where it looks too stark, you add in other things. That's why staging is so good. Staging with color helps accentuate the colors that are actually there. It actually helps make whites look whiter, makes blacks look blacker, because we've got color to separate them from everything else. So if you can, add a little bit more color there. One other thing that we can do here, this is a good trick that I like using. I take both my background layer and my edited layer, I duplicate them, and then I will merge those layers. Now essentially what this is it's creating the same layer, taking the two layers below it and making it into another one. I'm going to go up to the little drop down menu here and I'm going to make that into a screen. Alright, now that looks pretty bad, so let's turn that off for now. Okay, I'm also going to go and create a brightness contrast layer. just going to drop that brightness a little bit. Now, let's go back to that copy layer. Remember how I made that into a screen? I'm going to turn that back on. I'm going to put a mask on it. I'm going to go Command I, and I'm going to invert that mask. So essentially what it means is that nothing is showing because everything is dark here. I'm going to click on B for my brush. I'm going to click on my mask layer there, and I'm going to start drawing in slowly some areas in my image. What does that do? Let's take a look. I'm going to grab that layer, grab the brightness layer. I'm going to group those off, on, off, on. What it does is it changes what parts of the image are bright and which parts are dark. And what that does is it changes where your eye focuses. Psychologically speaking, your eye goes to wherever it is brightest. So I want your eye to go straight to that fridge over there. So bang, as soon as that's on, you'll notice your eye goes straight to that fridge. Maybe that's a bit much, right? If it is, you can take your opacity down to the point where you feel like it is just adding enough of that oomph there. Another thing that you can do is to go to your photo filter and add a warming filter. Now, I'm going to invert that one there and again, make it black. I've got my white brush there and I'm just going to warm up those parts that are in the living room. Don't need to warm up anything in the foreground. I just want to warm up whatever's in the living room there just to make it look less cold and less vacant, right? And yes, some people may say, well, that's not the real color there, but adding a little bit of warmth to a place may actually help change the mood of the place because let's face it, color is subjective, it's interpretive, and sometimes adding a little bit of warmth and a little bit of yellow to it will help make it look less vacant, right? And that's what we're trying to do here. I'm going to also add a little bit here, just because those cabinets look a little bit not washed out, sorry. Look a little bit less saturated. Now, let's grab all those. I'm going to put those into a group so you can see before, after, before, after. It's just a little touch, right? Add a little color, add a little lightening, and that will bring that punch right back into it. All right. Hope that helped out. Hope you learned a couple of things here. And if you have any more questions, by all means, DM me and just ask. Until then, take your camera, have fun.
Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or comments, put them below, and be sure to click on like and subscribe if you have not done so already, and make sure that you click on that little bell so you get notified every time we put up a new video here. And if you want to follow me on Instagram or Facebook, I can be found at Rob Maroto. And for those of you who want some more advanced techniques on Photoshop, some free presets and actions, join us on patreon.com/Rob Maroto. That really helps me out, helps me fund all of this and keep on putting on some free content onto these platforms. So please do join me there. That's patreon.com/Rob Maroto. And until next time, take care and have fun shooting.